Hey everybody, this is your host, Matt Breckwald. Starting off this episode just a little bit different than normal, I want to talk to you real quick about a win-win-win situation that I've been fortunate enough to develop. I have a new sponsor on the Off-Farm Income podcast, and that is Audible.com. And so, how is this a win-win-win situation? Well, let me tell you. I can offer you a free trial and a free book from Audible.com. So, to get a free audiobook and download and a 30-day free trial, all you have to do is go to www.audibletrial.com/offfarmincome. And when you do that, you get a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook, and you get information that you need to move you forward on your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business of agriculture. I get an affiliate commission when you do that, and Audible Trial or Audible.com gets a new potential customer. They get to show off and show you what they can do. So what do I have to say about this? Why is this a win-win-win? Why are you included in the win column? Well, I work a lot in my ag service business. In Idaho Gopher Control, I spend a lot of time out exterminating gophers in the field and driving from job to job. But I'm always trying to consume positive content that's going to move me further in my journey. And since I can't be reading a book during those times, I am listening to books. And I subscribed to Audible.com, about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And that's been a business expense ever since. It's not a luxury expense in my case. I consider it an absolute business expense because I am consuming content that is pushing me forward. It's making me better. It's giving me the confidence to continue with my entrepreneurial ventures. It gave me the confidence to start this podcast so I can communicate and get to know all of you, and it will do the same for you. Just yesterday, I started my gopher season on February 4th, the earliest start that I've ever had in the history of my business. And while I was out exterminating gophers, I was listening to Steven Pressfield in The War of Art. That's right, The War of Art. Now, I recommend his book already on my website, Do the Work. But The War of Art was inspirational. I'm going to listen to it again, and I recommend that you do the same. And to support our podcast, you can now get a free audio download and an introduction to a wonderful resource to help you move forward with what you're striving for at www.audibletrial.com/offfarmincome. Thank you so much for the support, and enjoy your book. Hey, welcome to the Off-Farm Income Podcast, episode number 10. This is your host, Matt Breckwald. Hey, thank you very much for joining us today. And today is the day we are going to continue our journey to the ultimate lifestyle business of agriculture with a very special interview. Our guest today is Ted Luehring. Ted has a very interesting business that he developed with his 8 and 9-year-old sons, where they go out and trap pigeons, squirrels, chipmunks, and rabbits. And they are actually making money doing this by selling the pigeons to dog trainers and providing a service of trapping the rabbits and the chipmunks and the squirrels. And what's so inspiring about this episode is not just the business that you may have never thought of and the ability to go make money in agriculture and help other people out, but how he's teaching his sons to be entrepreneurial, teaching them to be debt-free, and teaching them to think outside of the box. Truly, if you're sitting in a cubicle right now, or if you're sitting in a job somewhere and wondering how you're ever going to escape it and how you're ever going to get out of it, these two young men that Ted is bringing up as entrepreneurs may never ever enter that genre. And all I can say is I'm just so jealous. I wish I was born with that entrepreneurial spirit where I never wanted to have an employer, but I'm there now and I'm so happy. And I think that this podcast with Ted is going to give you a lot of inspiration and let you know that you can do it. And special attention to our FFA listeners. I think this business model that Ted Luehring is going to be talking about is perfect for an SAE entrepreneurial project. And so you might want to tune in and figure out a way that you can complete that requirement for your FFA program with what he's doing there. So to all of you, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you so much for subscribing on iTunes and on Stitcher, and for using our affiliate links. I know you heard the new intro with audible.com, and I hope you'll please use that as well. At least take advantage of the free book. And so happy to have you. Let's get on with the interview. All right, well, welcome, Ted. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Off-Farm Income Podcast. We're excited to talk about your niche business today with pigeon, rabbit, and squirrel removal. You ready to get started?
Yes, I am, sir.
All right. Well, to start off, tell me a little bit about you personally.
I have a degree in journalism. I work in the graphics arts field, and that's what I do professionally. And then after work, I will renovate a few houses, but I'm also a falconer and an avid hunter.
Oh, okay. And you were telling me off the air earlier that this business that you started, you kind of started to help out the kids. Is that correct?
Yes, it is the children's business, which obviously they're 8 and 9 when they started. Now they're 9 and 10, so they don't have driver's license, and they're small. They can't really get in and out of silos very well, but they try.
Okay. Well, let's start off by giving our listeners just a quick overview of the business and what it is you do.
Okay, we are an abatement service. We will trap and remove pest animals, and it's all live trapping except for chipmunks in the garage. Then we'll use dead kill, but all the animals are either released or used for other purposes.
Tell me about pigeons. How do you use those?
The pigeons, we will go and we offer free trapping services because we can turn around and use them for 3 different purposes. Like I said, I'm a falconer.
Okay.
So we will use the pigeons as bait birds in live traps to trap other raptors for falconry purpose or abatement work or banded birds. I did trap one banded bird this year.
Okay.
Just report it, and then it's released. Most of the birds are released if we don't keep them for falconry use for a year.
Okay.
And then the other use of the pigeons is just to subsidize food for raptor centers and for falconers.
Okay.
And then we also sell them for an income to dog trainers.
Okay. All right. Now, let me ask you specifically about the pigeons. So you are generating some income there by selling them to dog trainers.
Yes.
If you wanted to, would you be able to charge people for removing nuisance pigeons?
A city I could, but more so I do it to farmers as a service, free service, if they're kind enough to trust me and the kids and their property and stuff. And plus we generate income, and we'll use the pigeons. If we can't trap the pigeons, 2 years ago I did buy pigeons for bait birds, for the falconry part of it.
Okay.
So just by their generosity, and then by meeting these farmers and removing their nuisance birds, basically, they also open up some of their land for us to hunt the hawks on.
Okay. All right.
So it's a friendship, and on the back end, nothing goes the way as the pigeons. They're not released back so I can go trap them again. Like I said, they're either used as bait birds for falconry or for food, or they're sold for training dogs.
Okay. Well,
we generate the income from the dog trainers. And
Okay.
then also, by using them as food for the hawks, I'm not paying $2, $3 for quail.
Sure. Okay. Well, and the reason I was asking you that is just if there's somebody out there listening who's thinking, oh, this might be a good business for me to start. I might be interested in trapping pigeons. I want them to know of all the potential revenue sources for them. So it is possible to get paid to trap those, even though that you're not charging for that part of the service.
Right. There are people that make a living in abatement work. Say airports for one, or the cabin. My friend lives in northern Wisconsin, and he has a yearly salary from the township as the trapper. So when a beaver goes in the culvert, he goes and traps the beaver out, to keep it from plugging it up.
Okay.
So there is work and abatement work. What we do is a small level. Like I said, again, this is a 9 and 10-year-old generating revenue.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
and that's important, too, for the purposes of our show, because one of the groups we're focusing on are agriculture students and FFA students, and them starting small entrepreneurial businesses. So that's it's important that it's something that young kids can do, too. So that's good to know.
yeah, and they do have their own racing pigeons. A couple of them have pedigrees, so they do breed their pigeons, which are separate than the feral pigeons.
Okay.
So their pigeon, besides flying hawks, we also have 14 breeders, 7 pairs of breeding pigeons this year.
Okay. And then you are actually charging for rabbit and squirrel removal, is that correct?
Yes. Okay. We have 16 live traps that will go out, and depending on how much they want or how bad they need them removed. But yes, we'll trap. Well, I'm in Wisconsin, and this year the snowfall hasn't been that bad, so there's been a lot of open grass.
Uh-huh.
Browse basically for the rabbits. But last summer we had 2 feet of snow for 2 months, 3 months even. So then as the snow accumulates, the rabbits can reach higher, so then they start wreaking havoc on the arborvitaes. Just your garden plants. If you're going to pay $30, $40 for one bush and you buy 8 of them, they'll come in and save your trees.
I see. Okay. Well, how in the world did you pick this business?
Function. Part of my lifestyle, I suppose. I do have a professional career, but after I leave work, I deal with the hawks and the falcons. So I was trapping animals for training and rehabber. I also work for the rehab. So let's say we have nesting peregrines. 2 years ago, one got hit by a car on the highway, and then it went to the rehabber. Well, she's not a falconer or a training bird. She just gets them on wings, and does the care and healing part of it.
Okay.
Well, then she's a wildlife rehabber, so her idea is to get every bat animal that goes through there back out in the wild.
All right.
So I was trapping animals for rehabbers and also for my hawks for training falconry birds and stuff. And then, it just came up, and the boys wanted a business that they're too small to shovel snow and too small to cut the grass.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them what they're good at, and they said animals. And I said, well, how can you generate, a business with animals? And they said we could remove them. We can trap them. We're good at trapping, which they are.
Oh, that's great. And so you said they were 7 and 8 when they started. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how in the world did you raise up a 7 and 8-year-old who wanted to start a business? I think that's fantastic.
Well, I'll have to give some props out to Dave Ramsey. I try to live the debt-free lifestyle. I've never had a credit card in my life, and 4 years ago I got divorced, and it's a good split, and it was good for me. And I bought the foreclosure house across the street for $24,000, and then basically sold it for a killing, put another 30 in it. So, and then in the past I flipped houses. So I always had, besides my career, I always was generating, revenue on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was buying a foreclosure home or selling stuff on eBay or making bulk shot tree traps, making falconry equipment and selling it on eBay.
Okay.
And then the kids would want to do something, and I'm like, well, it's not in the budget, but let's make something or let's sell something. So right now, they're trapping pigeons right now to go to Wisconsin Dells so they can pay us for the room.
Oh, cool.
That's what they wanted it, and I already took them on one trip, and they want to go again. So I said, if you want to go, you cover the $100 for the room, I'll cover everything else. So it's kind of to teach them to be responsible, basically.
Yeah.
They haven't allowed, they get commission in my house for the work that they do.
Uh-huh.
They don't get paid to play the Xbox. They get paid to do chores, do the dishes, clean up their room.
Sure.
So by this, and they're all gun-ho for it, because I would make the traps and I'd sell it on eBay, and Dad made another $40. And I always would say you guys, because that goes into our slush fund.
Uh-huh.
My father had a cabin, and he's since passed, so now it's up to us to maintain it. So some of this money would go to the cabin, and like I said, I'd budget. So we have a lot amount for certain things, and then this is just our slush fund.
Okay.
So then as I sold certain stuff, they're kind of getting the idea. It's like, hey, he's making money and we're doing more stuff. I want a new Pokemon game, and it's $40, Dad.
Uh-huh.
So I'll give you half of it. You got to come up with the other half. So that's kind of how it works.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
they've always been seeing. I guess they've always seen me. If I want something, I earn it, and I try not to take it out of my professional paycheck.
Sure. No, that's great. I can't believe there are starting business and they want to. That's wonderful. So I found you on Craigslist. Do you market yourself and your service in any other way other than Craigslist?
No, I do not, other than word of mouth. And then I will knock on since I offer a free service, or we do offer a free service with Pigeons, I will knock on doors if I see a flock of 200 pigeons and stuff. And most are very nice. And once again, I always tell them that I'm state and federally licensed for my raptors.
Okay.
So there's zero horseplay. I really much appreciate those licenses, and I will not jeopardize to lose them by doing anything silly.
Sure.
So, just with those credentials and stuff, everyone's pretty nice, and most people don't enjoy their pigeons that they have in their silos or their barns.
Right. Okay. So word of mouth, going door to door, and then Craigslist, and those are the three methods that you're using to get the word out about your service.
Mm-hmm. And most of the time, now that we have a couple dog trainers, like serious dog trainers, as soon as we can get a dozen pigeons in, we can get rid of them.
Okay.
So it's more so that I had to stop advertising the pigeons. Well, in fall, they're grain animals. Pigeons eat grains. They don't eat insects and stuff like that. They're grain animals. So trapping slows down in fall when the harvest season is, because there's so much open grains that they don't need to go in the silos in the barns foraging. There's a ton of it out in the field.
Okay.
So usually in fall it slows down, and that's when the guys should have their dogs training, but then there's the guys that didn't do a good job training their dogs. Now they realize they should have did it with a couple live birds, would help them out.
I see.
So there's different times when the trapping's good and then when the trapping's not. Right now the pigeons are starting to have squabs in some of the silos already.
Okay.
And pigeons they mate for life, but they're pretty territorial and they're pretty aggressive. So when you get 2 or 3 nesting in the bottom of a silo, those cocks aren't going to let any other birds in there. So you might as well not trap those birds, let them raise their young, or pull the fledglings out. Normally I'll go in there and then they'll start pulling the fledglings once they're off the crop milk and remove those.
Mm-hmm.
And then trap out, because a young bird, if it gets in the trap, it can die relatively quickly, and we don't want to trap birds and then have them dead in a day or two.
Sure.
Because the young fledglings would get in there, and then the parents won't go in there, or get in there too, and then one doesn't, and then anyways, if they can't get that crop milk, they're dead birds. So I don't like to go out and live trap birds and then remove them all dead. It's just not good for the kids or good for the business.
Mm-hmm. And how busy are you guys?
Well, we usually check traps a couple times a week and on the weekends.
Okay.
Right now, we put 3 an hour away because they are infested with pigeons.
Okay.
So that's about the farthest I'll go. But when you do that, you kind of have to have the farmer or the guy there help, to put the doors down. Once they start using the trap, then you have to drop the doors. So instead of driving an hour, most of those guys are willing enough just to get them out of their machine shed,
Uh-huh.
to help out a little bit. But then obviously I set it all up and stuff and just show them what to do, and then we'll come back, when they give us a call. But if it's close and stuff, we'll check every other day if we're running the traps.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. When you 3 started doing this, was there a point in time where you went, hey, this is going to work, this is going to be okay, and we're going to be able to keep doing this?
We're not making thousands of dollars, but the kids make, several $100s.
Uh-huh.
So to a 10-year-old, if they make $50 on a weekend, that's a lot of money to them.
Sure, absolutely.
So as long as they have an interest and they're helping and doing it, this isn't Dad's business. They jump in the silo with me, and for every revenue we bring in, we document it, and if we need a bag of corn, that's $9 out of their pigeon fund.
Okay.
So I funded up all their money, and then we built the traps. So to get started, we built 3 traps. So I had to buy the rolled wire and the fasteners. So we did that. I, made them the traps, or they helped me make them the traps. But again, they can't really cut heavy gauge wire. So on their first pigeon sales and stuff, they paid back bad and broke even. Paid me back for the wire and for the food and stuff, and then they started turning a profit, and then once they got more money, then we bought more wire, and then we made more traps.
Okay.
So it's more so they're making money, they love it, they're working for it, and they're also learning that, hey, I make $50 here, but we're running low on corn, so we got to take $9 of this and get another 50-pound bag of corn.
Sure.
So that they learn that it takes money to make money, I guess.
Well, let's if there's a young man or young woman out there right now listening to this that is hearing this for the first time and is thinking to themselves, man, this is really sounds like a business I'd like to be involved in. They like wildlife, or they like farming, or a combination of the two. If you could think of 3 pieces of advice they should actually absolutely have before they get started, what would those be?
You have to like what you do, especially on a side business, or after you work your 40, 50 hours a week. To actually do something else, you have to have goals, and one of them is you have to like it. It's like walking dogs. If you don't like walking dogs, or you don't like kids, you're not going to be very good at dealing with someone's dog or babysitting.
Sure.
So you kind of have to want to do it to generate extra revenue. The second thing is you need goals. The kids, they always have a goal. We need X many pigeons so we can do this, right? And then also, like I said before, it takes money to make money. And the whole thing is we don't reinvest. I guess the third point would be you don't reinvest in debt. You reinvest on the capital that you made from previous.
Okay. So don't borrow money to reinvest in the business, but use the money you're making to reinvest.
Yes. On a small scale. On a larger scale, I would have different advice, but for what we do, that's the way to do it.
Okay. So it sounds to me like you kind of developed incrementally a little bit to where you got enough money to build some more traps and things like that. Did you write up any sort of business plan with your sons prior to doing this, or did you guys just kind of start and go for it?
We discussed it. Like I said, it's kind of a small operation, and it's the kids' operation. So we went through, just from the starting of the whole concept is they wanted to earn money.
Sure.
How can you earn money? We can't do this and this and this, but we're good at this. So how can we turn what you're good at into a profit? And that was animals. We can trap animals, and that was their idea.
Okay.
So from that point, and then we sat down. I said, this will work. We can do this. We do, instead of buying them, we can do that all. So then we went down and actually did make a small list of what we need to make the traps. So then we went down and made basically a material list.
Okay.
So then we made a material list of what we need to get started. And then after that, then we needed land. Basically, we needed to find... You can build all the traps in the world. If you can't find someone or find pigeons, you're not going to make any money. You can make the best quilts in the world. If you can't find a market to sell your quilts, you're not going to make money.
Right.
So we knocked on a few doors after we had 3 traps, and then we got permission to utilize, their land for free, basically.
Okay.
So then as it grew, they paid me back the lender. Then they started generating profit, and then we couldn't keep up with the dog trainers on 3 traps, so then we reinvested the money and then bought more traps.
Okay.
Or built more traps, I should say.
Okay. All right.
So again, it wasn't huge scale. It's not like the investment was $25,000 starting or buying a house to renovate. Where you're talking tens of thousands of dollars and putting additional tens of thousands.
No, totally. So did you did they form an official company into an LLC or anything like that, or did you guys stay as sole proprietors in this?
We're sole proprietors, but I also try to. They haven't hit $600 yet for me to worry about that.
Okay.
So that's the income tax bracket, and I don't even know if a 10-year-old that generates $700 in income on a small business is going to get taxed on it or not. But
sure,
like I said, I do other things with houses and stuff that I don't want to mix the two.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Gotcha. No, I completely understand. And if there's one piece of equipment that somebody would have to start, to just do the bare minimum to just get started with this type of business, what would you recommend?
More important of material or equipment is you need the time. You're dealing with wild animals, you're trapping wild animals, so if you plan on setting a trap and not checking in a week, those birds need water, so you're going to trap and kill birds.
Mm-hmm.
So what you need to do is say, I have to allot. Well, same thing if you want a decent dog and you want to train it, or like with our falconry birds, they take an hour or two a day, and that's after they're trained.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, if you're going to do this, you're trapping live animals. Nobody wants you to come to their house, trap some animals, and have them die in the trap.
Okay.
You got to make sure that you can check these traps daily or every other day. So the number one thing is you need to commit that you're going to make time to do this. You're not going to go out, trap animals, and let them die. And right now it's winter in Wisconsin, and then, we've had 10, 15 degrees. A rabbit can't live in that trap 24 hours. In these temperatures, they need shelter. So if you're going to trap live animals, you have to be serious to get out there, trap them live, and then bring them home live.
Okay.
And then the second thing next to time and commitment is your traps.
And you said you're using live animal traps, is that correct?
Yes, we trap everything live.
Okay.
The only thing we'll dead trap are chipmunks.
Okay.
But that's because most of the time when we're doing that, we're doing it in people's patios, garage, underneath their decks, and it's not... we can get a dozen chipmunks in a 24-hour period.
Mm-hmm.
Come summertime. So.
Okay. And
then with some of the squirrels and rabbits, we usually relocate, and it's fine with the DNR as long as you're not loading up a place to hunt. You can trap squirrels out of the city and then bring them out to. I release all mine on private property.
Okay.
And the people don't mind and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Basically, farmettes or open fields or industrial parks. One guy has 27 acres behind industrial parks, and he's like, drop anything you want out there,
Okay.
So, and the kids are very good with not getting connected to animals because the falconry birds we always release within 2 years.
Sure.
And such. But, yeah, that's...
Okay. In terms of equipment, now I've used a couple live animal traps to catch skunks and things like that around my place. And they're just like the cages with a little foot thing they step on that releases the door I bought at the farm and ranch store. Are you talking about those type of live animal traps or something more sophisticated?
Those are pan traps. We use one of those, and that's basically for chipmunks. But all our box traps, we manufactured out of sheet PVC and plexiglass.
Okay.
And then we put an oak chew block in the back of them. I don't like the pan styles because if you use them on snow, they don't work as well because that pan, if snow goes through the bottom of that grate and stuff, that pan has to wobble and stuff, so they're more prone to malfunction.
Okay.
And plus, when you have those Havahart live traps, you can see inside of them.
Sure.
So I try to... We're trapping live animals, and some people may or may not like it. Obviously, the people that like it are the ones that are having us, are opening up their land to us, and the people that don't like it, we try not to even advertise that the traps are out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I build my own traps out of plexiglass that are only open on the back end with mesh, that, given if they want to chew hard, they eventually can work their way out. but I also put in oak wood blocks in the back, and they have a tendency to chew that more so. But then the front closures you can't see, and the sides are slightly painted over the plexiglass, so you can see in there, but you can't see in there from 30 yards away, I guess.
Okay. All right.
Isn't the best. So if you're putting I just don't like to advertise it because of some people's emotions towards animals, I guess.
Yep. No, I totally understand. So
yeah, so our traps are a little bit, they're not as, hey, that guy's got a squirrel in that have-a-heart trap. You really can't tell.
Okay. So how did you find those first initial customers?
I was one.
Okay.
I had to go out and buy pigeons to trap. We needed a new bird 2 years ago, a new bird to fly over the winter, a falconry bird.
Okay.
So I went out and purchased some pigeons. And then I was like, man, there's pigeons flying around. I can't believe. Like I said, I'm an avid hunter. I'm in Pope and Young, Wisconsin buck and bear. I did the coyote hat trick, all that stuff. And then it's just kind of, I paid to buy pigeons. It's kind of like what got me started. And then, after a couple weeks or a couple trap birds, you lose a couple, or mishandle, or one gets the talons in there and they get killed, and you need more pigeons. So basically, it was like, why am I paying for this? And then when the kids asked to start a business, and they said animals, then it was kind of like at the same time, and it clicked. I was like,
sure.
All right.
And so that very first person that paid you or hired you to have you come out, how did you find them? Did you already know them, or did you go knocking on doors, or how did you locate them?
Well, I knocked on doors to get the land to trap the pigeons.
Okay.
So I knocked on a couple doors, and then bumped into another friend, and he's like, I got pigeons, Because we just started talking about, how's the hawk doing, and I just started talking. So knocking on doors was how we got, I guess, the product. When we say product, we're talking about the pigeons.
Okay.
So I knocked on doors to get that going, and then once we got, a couple doubles of pigeons, then we'd advertise on Craigslist. And then after dealing with a couple, some are professional dog trainers. Some guys have, he's running 5 different English field spaniels. So he's needing birds for that. And, he took those dogs. Those dogs are fantastic dogs.
Okay.
He put a little show on for the kids. So
nice.
They are repeat customers.
Okay.
So I advertised a little bit, got a clientele here, basically, that will keep coming back. You pick up a dozen, pick up 3. One guy will take as many as we possibly can trap. But again, it's getting the pigeons, getting the product to sell is more harder, or at certain times of the year it's more difficult.
Okay.
So, like I mentioned earlier, when you harvest the grains, the pigeons are hard to trap. There's no reason for them to go in there.
Sure.
It's all their food. The weather's nice.
And
stuff. And then temperature, too, we trap more. Well, like any animals, even with our falconry birds, they eat more when it's cold. So the same thing with any wild bird and the pigeon is when the temperature gets to 0, they have to double their intake. So they're searching for food and also more prone to be pushed down to the bottom of the silos or into the barns for easier trapping.
Okay. Well, let me ask you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish, Ted.
Well, it's easier to trap animals, any animal, when it's 10 degrees and snow covered than when it's 55 during October's harvest.
Sure.
I guess.
Okay. Well, how much money is needed if somebody wants to start up a business like yours and start getting into this and doing this? How much money would they need just to get a start?
If you can build stuff, I guess, under $100 to get started. If you're buying a pigeon trap, $66, anywhere from $35 to $66 per trap.
Okay.
Plus bait. So.
Okay. And then, are you offering? And it sounds like you are offering more services right now than when you first began. It sounds like you started off just getting the pigeons. So have you grown into trapping the squirrels and the rabbits?
Yeah, that was something I did because of the falconry hobby. But that was something I did, and then people started, hey, I got a friend, you can come over and clean out any animal they want, or not any animal, but come out and they'd appreciate it. So then it started with that, and then I bought the pigeons, so then we started with the pigeons, and I'm like, I went to one guy's house, and he was complaining, and I'm like, my kid's trapped animals. He's like, really? And then we went out there, and we got 7 rabbits and 3 squirrels in 2 days.
Okay.
So then he passed it on, said something to someone else. And it's kind of like more so of getting someone, I'm not going to pay you to trap rabbits. Well, you paid $50 for that bush that's dead. How many more you want dead? So it's kind of like you got to put a value on your service. I
Sure.
suppose,
Sure.
if that makes sense.
Okay.
But the pigeons, dog trainers will always use pigeons. And like I said, I bought 50 quails for over $100. I can, for a couple hours a week of my time, I can get pigeons to supplement diet.
Okay. Great. And then we already know what time of year is slowest for you during harvest, but what time of year is the busiest for you?
End of summer. Well, end of summer because, like I said, I kind of lay up when they're nesting and stuff. Just too many casualties, and I'm not in the business of killing pigeons. I'm in the business of trapping pigeons.
Sure.
Well, we never had we were offered. We did do one abatement work with air rifles, but that was an infestation there inside the building, and we couldn't figure out how they were getting inside there. So we cleaned them out and buttoned everything up. But the best time is probably the coldest time. Snow cover and 0 temperatures, sub-zero temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, they double their intake and they need shelter.
Okay.
So if every day was a harvest season, if every month was October and 55, we probably couldn't trap birds,
Sure.
at all.
Okay. Well, it sounds to me like you've been pretty entrepreneurial for a long time, doing a lot of side businesses and things like that. What's the best business advice that anybody's ever given to you?
Don't go into debt. Make your money, reinvest when you have it. And that I pass it on to my kids, whether it's a $100 pigeon trapping business or you're going to go look for a $30,000 foreclosure home.
Okay. So stay out of debt. Go ahead.
When you put too much on the line and you don't have success, you lose it.
Sure.
So especially for startup businesses. Unless you have a niche that is going to be 100% successful, which most entrepreneurs don't,
mm-hmm.
That's when you got to look into what is it worth? What's the risk worth?
Sure.
So $10,000, that's not a whole lot of money, but if you're talking to an 18-year-old trying to invest $10,000 in a startup business, that might be his whole savings.
Right. Exactly.
So can you work a second job, delay that 6 months, and come up with another $5,000? We all can if we put our mind to it.
Sure.
So on a small scale, and like I said, this is for kids, or for even if you want to go to a big scale, you need investors and you need capital.
Mm-hmm.
And debt is not capital.
Gotcha. Okay, and then a personal habit. What's a personal habit that you have right now that's contributing to your success in terms of raising your boys, teaching them to be entrepreneurial and stay out of debt? What's a personal habit you've got?
I guess know your faults.
Okay.
I work in a highly detailed field, graphics and whatnot. I am not good at paying attention to detail, but it's what I do for a living, so I know this, so I train myself to go back and look over things. You have to know your weaknesses and have to know your strengths. I can talk to just about anyone, and I'm a very honest person.
Uh-huh.
So basically, you got to know your strengths, but more importantly, you got to know your weaknesses.
Okay.
And if you're a compulsive person looking to make the get-rich scheme, chances are you're not going to get rich scheme. You're going to end up in debt.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, patience.
All right.
Yes, being patient, being persistent.
Well, for our listeners out there right now who are intrigued and interested and thinking that they want to look into this further, can you recommend a book for them that might help them along their way?
Well, like I said, is being debt-free has, well, getting debt-free and maintaining being debt-free is huge, and it opens up a lot of doors. But because now you have money to reinvest in stuff that you didn't have money before because you were paying interest on a car you couldn't afford to invest people that you don't ever meet.
Sure.
So like the Dave Ramsey Complete Money Makeover book was pretty big.
Yeah, that's definitely true, because if you're in debt, if you start a business or get into something that's not the right fit, but you're in debt, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, and then what do you do? Do you grunt it out for another 2 years, taking a loss, looking to hoping that it's going to turn around? You know, but if whatever you do in your personal life is going to carry over to your business life. So if you like spoiling yourself.
Well, Ted, this has been really informative and really applicable to a major segment of my target audience. So thank you very much for doing this interview with me. And let me tell the kids there's money everywhere, and people will pay money for almost anything nowadays. So you just got to find something and then apply yourself, I guess. Yeah, great. That's great advice. Well, Ted, if any one of my listeners wanted to contact you for any further information, what would be the best way to do that?
You can use my email, which is Ted Luehring, TEDLUEHRING @gmail.
Okay, and I will put that on the show notes, as well as the information about the book that you recommended and your advice and things like that, so our listeners can look that up, and if somebody wants to contact you, that'll be right there for them.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. Well, hey, thanks again. Really appreciate it, and best of luck to you and to the boys with this business. I think it's great.
Yeah, so they are having fun, and they're learning quite a bit. So I'm pleased with it. And like I said, we're meeting some great people, some fantastic dog trainers that take a liking to the kids, and show them what some fantastic dogs they see. Yeah, it's fun. They've been meeting people. Their people skills have been getting better. Interacting, with adults, with asking farmers permission, trying to explain them, and stuff. So, yeah, it's a learning experience for them. I think it's nothing but positive.
All right. Well, great, and thank you again, Ted. It's been a pleasure.
Yep. Take care, Matt.
All right. Well, special thanks goes out to Ted Luehring for joining us on the Off-Farm Income podcast today. And there's something he said during the podcast that I just wanted to revisit, where he talked about how his sons are getting to meet such great people. He talked about some of the great dog trainers and other people they're meeting through their business. And I've got to tell you that when you go out on your own and you step out there and you put yourself out there where you can be criticized, you put yourself out there where you can fail, other people recognize that you are taking a step that almost everybody in our country does not take. They're not willing to take. So many people are just comfortable in their everyday jobs and their everyday misery of having to go through that same old routine, that when you jump out and you take a step and you put yourself out there, it really impresses people. And there's a lot of unintended consequences, things that you may have never thought about when you put yourself out there. And one of those things is meeting great people. And when he said that definitely resonated with me. I have met so many great people already just through my entrepreneurial ventures, people I would have never, ever had the opportunity to meet if I had not taken that risk. So get out there, take that risk, follow that dream, and make it happen. You're going to be rewarded in many, many different ways. All right, so you can thank Ted for coming on today, and I hope you do. I will be providing his email address in the show notes for the Off-Farm Income podcast, and feel free to drop him a line and say thank you and that you appreciate his time and his contribution to the journey that we're all taking. And all of those links will be there in the show notes. And as always, for show feedback and guest suggestions, you can contact me on email at matt@offincome.com, OFFINCOME.com, or on the telephone at 888-597-5596. And I will tell you what, I love guest suggestions. If you can think of anybody with an agricultural service business that you think people would have never have thought of on their own, or they wouldn't know how to run it if they even thought of it, boy, I would love to interview those people. So send me your guest suggestions. And hey, as always, 5 ways to support off-farm income. Number 1, tell a friend. Thank you. That's how we spread the word about what we're trying to provide and what we're trying to accomplish here. So in person, on the internet, on the telephone, skywriting, it's all good. Tell a friend about the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Use our affiliate links. Thank our new sponsor by doing that free trial membership and getting a free audiobook on audible.com, shop on amazon.com, and absolutely go to the 48 days links. Subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher. If you haven't done so already, man, you're doing us a great service and keeping us around by subscribing. We'd really appreciate it if you did. Follow me on Twitter at Matt Breckwald, at MattBreckwald. And last but not least, hit that like button on our Facebook page and make contact. I would love to say hello to you. And as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.